Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today I'm excited to be continuing my gameplay for Final Girl from Ryder Games. This feature film is called Into the Void, and if you haven't checked out part 1 of this gameplay, you'll definitely want to do that so you have an understanding as to where we're currently at. I'll put a link to it in the top right hand corner. There is something I want to mention from the prior video. We'll go over it right now. Within the feature film box Into the Void, there are a number of action cards called Scan inside. These are cards that get added to the tableau, which you can purchase, as you can see, for 1 time. And as you'll see right on the very top row, if you get 3 stars, there's a number of steps to go through. Now, during part number 1, about halfway through the video, maybe around the 3/4 mark, I did a scan and I got 3 successes. I managed to pull that off. Now, I resolved what I thought was the entirety of the top row, but I actually missed or forgot to go ahead and skip the killer phase. What ended up happening because of this is I missed an opportunity to potentially go to the planning phase, purchase some attack cards, and go into the next round having not had to deal with a killer phase and be able to potentially put damage on the killer and take it out before it evolved and got even stronger. Too bad, just like a thematic movie of Alien, if you miss something, it's going to come back to bite you. And in this case, it did for me, and that's why we're in this situation. Starting off the actions phase, I'm going to play Focus from my hand. My aim here is to get ourselves from here into this area. I want to decrease that horror level so we can get 3 dice on future horror rolls. That would be nice. Here we go, rolling 2 dice on this one as we're in this section and seeing whether we can decrease the horror level. Oh, we definitely can. I can even go ahead if I want and discard 2 cards to actually gain more time. That is kind of tempting because I actually have a number of cards I think in my hand that are kind of useless right now. Taking a look at you, Short Rest, I think that's one of them. I couldn't resist, so I discarded a search card as well as a short rest card because I definitely don't need to short rest right now. I've gone ahead and bumped myself up to 8 because, of course, we're taking the top row here and also decrease the horror level, which increases our dice going forward. Now, I'm in the same room as the killer, and normally that would excite me because I can start throwing some big-time hits against this thing, but I don't have any cards in my hand that can do that except for a Retaliate, which would mean, of course, I have to be defending an attack coming from the killer, and then I could throw some damage on it after that. But sticking around just to do that doesn't really make too much sense when I have a whole turn in front of me. I'm thinking I might actually leave the room, and this might actually work to my advantage because if I can get it to kind of leave the furnace and head elsewhere on its turn and then maybe come back to the furnace, I always get the advantage of having the furnace potentially hitting it for damage as well. I could keep that Retaliate for later, and I can maybe focus on picking up other key cards. I could also focus on getting victims out of this situation and onto my character card, which will allow me to unlock an ability, which of course would be very nice. So that might be what I'm going to gun for right now. So if that's the case, we need to walk and we want to head west to the key card that's right beside us. The good news in this situation is, again, we're rolling 3 dice thanks to our focus we did earlier. So again, that definitely helps us. Although in this case, because I need to either begin or end my movement in a space to pick up the key card for free, I really just need a basic success because I just need to move once and then I'm essentially going to stop my movement and that'll allow me to pick up the key card. So if I get to movement, I'm basically burning it anyway, but we'll see how this goes regardless. Well, I got exactly what I wanted, which is just to move 1 space. Again, if I had gotten moved 2 spaces, it's up to, right? You don't have to move all 2. You can just choose to stop and not use the rest of your movement. So here goes the Final Girl into the space. Movement's complete. We're going to take this key card. And that token then goes on a key card, which I had placed off the side of the board. That comes into play now in my inventory. Place a token on it, which I gathered from here. And of course, replace the dice back here in the slots. We lost a time because we did a walk and the walk card's in the discard as well. So that's it, which is good because we did what we wanted to do. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is actually leaving the victim that's in the armory on purpose because I kind of want the alien to have somebody to focus on in order to leave the furnace, maybe to go kill it because it'll be close by, and then we can kind of lead it back into the furnace and keep using that to our advantage. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to head north to the junction. We're going to try to pull off a big time sprint, and I sure hope this is going to work out for me. Now I can move up to 3 spaces if I get 2 successes, which would be quite good. It would get me from where I'm at, 1, 2, 3. We could move the 2 victims into here, and then I could use another walk after that. And if I get really lucky and I can move up to 2 spaces, I can actually get all the way to the escape pod and then end my movement there and be able to pick up the final key card in there as well. So that's not bad. Let's go ahead with a sprint and see how we do. Hopefully we can get up to 3 spaces. That would be quite nice. We're rolling 3 dice, so that's pretty good. We got ourselves 2 conversions and a success. So that's going to be at 2 spaces. We could choose to burn 2 cards if we want in order to do this. Tough call. Now the one thing I will say is that I do have a card. Well, I have 3 cards in hand left. I have Retaliate, I have Guard, and Walk. I could turf the Walk and the Guard. The reason why I'm not too concerned about the Guard card is that I do have the Thermal Visor, which is actually cut off in the bottom right of the screen here, but that Thermal Visor, when the actual alien shows up in your space, you can choose to discard 2 action cards that you have to take an available Guard reaction. So basically, by having the Thermal Visor on thematically, when the alien shows up in your space, you automatically are aware of its presence, so then you get a Guard card if you want to discard a couple action cards. So I have ways to get that Guard card back if I choose to discard it right now to convert for a success. That's kind of the long-winded circle as to why I may or may not get rid of this Guard card. So, do I want to do it? Maybe. I think I might. So let's go ahead and discard Walk and Guard. These are going to be gone. They're going to my discard pile. That's going to convert for a success. That's going to give us 2, which allows us to move up to 3 spaces. We're on the run. So we ran through the junction, headed west. We took a couple victims with us on our run because I don't want the alien to be able to take them out, and trying to get them as far away from it as possible, and also trying to get them to safety so I can get the benefits off my character card. Also worth noting, knockdown time by 1 after that sprint. At this point, that's going to end off the actions phase. We're going to head to the planning phase. In this phase, I have 6 time to spend. I'm going to choose to purchase a Furious Strike and the Sprint card. And I've also gone ahead and resolved the back end of the planning phase. Also took 0 cost cards that were sitting there. Weak Attack and Focus will be nice to have in my hand as well. So in total now, I have the following 5 cards. And I've also replenished the tableau and reset myself back to 6. The killer is on the board, and because of that, it's going to go ahead and resolve its K action up here for the killer. It's going to focus on a victim. It's going to move towards the victim, and currently based on the Bloodlust right now, it's moving at a speed of 2, which is going to have it heading exactly where I knew it would. The killer goes right inside the armory and slices up another victim. So another one down, which means the Bloodlust increases, and now as you can see, it's doing even more damage on its attacks. Now movement remains the same, but it's doing 3 damage on its hit, and it's going to start messing with our horror here soon in terms of the horror level. So what I'm probably going to want to do is that focus card that I end up getting back in my hand in this upcoming actions phase. I'm going to probably want to use that to get the horror track further down to mitigate this when it does trigger, so I don't lose my 3 dice, because I really want to hold on to that as long as I possibly can. Now we resolve a terror card, and this one is called Exoskeleton. It states to take a black final health token from the reserve and place it on top of this alien's current final health token. That does not sound good. This does not increase the health. Instead, when you must reveal the final health token, reveal both. That is brutal. And then on top of it, the horror level's going to increase, which means I've just lost my 3 dice anyway. It wasn't bad enough that it was able to evolve into its adult form, but now it has an exoskeleton on top of it, so there's another marker here. So when we finally get down to the last one, there typically would usually only be 1. In this case, there's going to be 2. We reveal both, as it mentions on the card, which just means it increases its odds that it's coming right back at us, which is no fun. We also are going to go ahead and increase the horror track, which means I've lost my 3 dice, as I mentioned. That card has been resolved, and I didn't like any part of it. We now move on to the panic phase, and even though the killer went into the armory and sliced up a victim in there, there was no other victims in there to panic. So we skip right past that. We head to the upkeep phase where we actually have something to check. Check yes, but action no. We do not have to action this right now. As you can see from the faulty wiring event card, it mentions that if anybody is inside the furnace or the trash compactor, we make a roll, and based on the roll, there is potential for wonderful wounds to happen. Now, this is good and bad. It's bad because it affects everybody, including the final girl, but it's good because this could actually be used as a tactic to try to hurt the alien even more than what we can do with the incinerator. Kind of a compounding effect that can go on here. So if we can get it into that situation and keep it there, that's a plus. I just caught something that I made a mistake on inside of the actions phase. The last one we just did, I actually picked up a key card, and you're supposed to reduce your time by 1 when you do so. I didn't do that. So when I went into the planning phase, I had 6 time in terms of a total spend, but I should have only had 5. In other words, when I went to go pick up Sprint and pick up Furious Strike, I can't technically afford these cards. I'm gonna have to rejig my hand and of course purchase something that was actually available from the last planning phase that works out to 5. So I made one change in order to make sure that during the planning phase, I'm only taking 5 time worth of cards. I'm taking a scan card, which is worth 1, and I have the Furious Strike that I had before for 4. So that is a total of 5. So what I put back was the Sprint card. So now I no longer have that in this action phase. We're all squared away, no gameplay impact whatsoever. Let's get going with this action phase. The first thing Ellen's gonna do is to try and regain her focus in order to try to decrease the horror level overall. So she's gonna take 2 dice here, we're gonna roll, and we're gonna hope to see a positive result. If we get lucky, we'll get 2 successes, which would be fairly awesome. We only got 1 this time. We can't even modify it, so we're just going up by 1, but we do decrease the time by 1 as well. Now, there's not too much else I'm really going to be able to do. I have Retaliate, I have Scan. Both of those aren't going to help me right now. Furious Strike, useless unless I'm actually in an area to attack, and Weak Attack. So I can't do anything else this turn, which is fine, because I actually can go into this turn with a decent amount of time. It's unfortunate I wasn't able to get a good enough roll in the focus to bump my time to 6 or above, because I would have loved to purchase a critical blow. But there is one way in order to gain additional time, as you guys all know, and that is to discard cards from your hand in the action phase. So just before we end off the actions phase, I'm going to go ahead and discard my scan card right before the planning phase. That's going to bump up my time to 6, and it's going to allow me to obtain critical blow. I spent all 6 time in order to do that. I'm also taking all these 0 cards into my hand: Focus, Walk, and Short Rest, along with the 4 cards I now have in hand for a total of 8. The tableau's been replenished, and we're ready to move to the killer phase. The killer's going to target a victim, and it's going to move to it and try to kill it. It has a movement speed right now of 2. It's not going to be able to reach a victim, but we know the closest ones to it are definitely the ones that are standing in the same space as the final girl, so this killer is on the move. Now again, I want to clarify the fact that it will not use the maintenance shafts, whether they're active or not. That one is currently not active anyway, but unless a game effect specifically says that this alien is going to use the maintenance shafts, it doesn't by default. You have got to be kidding me. The second I go ahead and discard a scan card, I get a card that I do not want to see while I'm trying to set up for a good attack. We've got Shadow Blitz. It says if the alien is a hatchling, discard and draw the next terror card. Otherwise, we continue on. That icon in the middle is something, as I'm kind of alluding to already, you just don't want to see. That icon means that this alien vanishes. And on top of the fact the alien has vanished, we're also going to immediately be drawing the next ambush card at an adult level. I've gone ahead and pulled a card, and it is a horror level increase, again taking away the 3rd die from me. It's literally trying everything possible to keep me from having 3 dice. We have nothing to resolve for the panic phase whatsoever, and the upkeep phase, we can skip past that because nobody is in the trash compactor or in the furnace to roll a die on for the faulty wiring, so we're right back around to the actions phase, and everything that I planned kind of changed, but I can still focus now at least on trying to get to an escape pod, maybe grabbing the key card, and again, just trying to get myself ready. Maybe we'll even head to the armory if we can actually make that happen during this turn and try to search, but I don't think I have a search card in hand, so maybe that's where I end up staying. I don't know how this is going to pan out. This is the fun of this one. This alien likes to play games. Let's start off the actions phase by going ahead and doing some walking. I'm going to try to head towards the escape pod. Now, I also need to mention the fact I am definitely keeping an eye on the super loader, which is not far away. And if you remember from part number 1, I found the super loader key, which allows me to use it. The super loader has some pretty cool abilities. Maybe I'll focus on that after we complete our walk here and just show you exactly what it can potentially do, because it might come in handy. I'm changing my mind. I do have a focus in my hand, and I might as well try and use it to increase, or at least potentially increase, my dice up to 3 for the walk, which would make a lot more sense. So we'll go ahead and do a focus first. We're rolling 2 dice. We're hoping for the best. Let's see how we do. That was not exactly the best. That's going to have me discard 2 cards just to try to get up a little higher. Let's see. Well, short rest is definitely one I can let go of without feeling too bad about it. But every other one is awesome. I have weak attack, furious strike, retaliate, critical blow. Like, I have so many attack cards ready to go. I guess weak attack I could probably let go. I think I'll just let weak attack go with short rest because I know I can get them back pretty easily. So we'll discard these 2, which will give me a single success. We'll go ahead and decrease the horror track, giving us back to 3. We have to drop our time down by 1. Not bad overall. Now we're going to attempt to walk. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to be rolling 3 dice, so that's a plus. Again, the reason I focused in the first place. Let's see how we do. All right, we got, oh no, more conversions. So we only got 1 success off this. That's a little brutal. I don't really want to throw away any more cards because most of the ones I have actually cost 4 or 6. Those are pretty expensive. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead with the 1, drop our time down by 1, which allows us to move. We'll be in the same room as the loader, which is called the hangar. Now that we're inside the hangar with the victims, a couple things I want to mention. First off, super loader's inside the room. I'm not going to currently hop into it because victims will not follow me if I decide to move while in the super loader. It states it right on the card itself, so that's a reason why I'm not going to use it at this point. But again, like I said, keeping that in my back pocket as something I could potentially use. Now, something I will be doing right now is using the 1 key card in my inventory. I'm going to be placing it on the maintenance shaft there in the bottom left-hand corner so I can actually access that pathway if I need it. Now, using a key card is free, doesn't cost any time, so I don't decrease any further there. But at this point, we're now going to go ahead and make a attempt to walk because I want to bring these victims to the escape pod to the south of us. So let's go ahead and do that. We just need to see 1 success. We're rolling 3 dice, so the odds are fairly good, so long as I don't screw this up. Let's see how we do. Oh my gosh, and I spoke it into existence. I screwed it up. And now... oh, that hurts so bad. It's like the worst time to get that kind of a roll, especially when I've got these kind of cards in my hand. Critical blow, retaliate, furious strike, they're all high cost cards. I don't want to be discarding them, but if I choose to outright fail this, then I move up to 1 space, so I still get to move, but I take a health hit and I lose 2 time. Now, here's the thing. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, it's not that bad because on Ellen's character card, if I get the individuals to the escape pod, I can actually get the health back. So the worst part about this is just losing 2 time. So let's do it. So we choose to fail this one and not actually converting these to successes. And so because of this, we still get to move 1, which I've done. The victims are now in the escape pod area here. We are going to save them and place them on the character card here in terms of what I'm going to pick. Great question. Well, here's the heart I was referring to. That is going to negate or cancel out the fact that I would have lost a heart, or I did lose a heart. So we don't have to worry about that. 2 time is going to come off of the track though, and we have 1 more choice to make. I decided to go ahead and take a search card. I've gone ahead and added a search card into my hand, and the final thing I want to do during my action phase right now is to decrease this 1 more time in order to pick up the key card in the escape pod. So I've taken the token, placed it in my inventory along with 1 of the key card cards, which was off to the side of play. And now we're going to end off the actions phase, moving into the planning phase. Now we have no idea where the killer is right now because it has vanished. So we're going to need to do some scanning, and scanning does cost 1, and that's exactly what I have left over. So my plan worked out. Just enough to pay for that card. We'll be taking that, and also we'll be taking the focus here. That's going to do it. We replenished all our discarded cards back at the tableau and got ourselves 6 time back. As I mentioned moments ago, the killer has vanished, so we need to pull an ambush card right now. The killer emerges from the ship. As it states here, it's going to be placed in the closest space to me without an X token present. Again, there isn't any in the game board, so it's coming right into the same space as me, which is the escape pod. We also remove any X tokens in play at this point, but we don't have any. Then it states if the finale has been revealed, which it hasn't, that's the top card of the 2 cards on the killer board, which the top one has not been revealed yet, then you trigger the killer action, so we're not going to do that. If not, immediately draw the next terror card. So we have a terror card coming at us. So we'll be placing the killer's meeple back on the game board, and just to show those that don't know what the finale card is, it's this one right here, which currently hasn't been revealed. And now we're ready to go ahead and resolve a terror card. The USS KONRAD is taking a beating. We now have a catastrophic hull breach occurring. Before we go into the meat of this one, the very first row there has 2 icons, a victim icon and a final girl icon together. What that means is it's going to target the closest victim or final girl. If there happened to be a victim in the same space as the final girl, then this killer would go after the victim first, but that's not the case. It's in the space it needs to be, so that movement boot there also not going to matter because it doesn't need to move anywhere. It's right in the space with me. It is going to attack. But I've been planning for this situation, and I've got a retaliate card, a defensive card in hand I'm going to use right now, which allows me to do a horror roll, and if I get the best result on this, I ignore all damage from the attack and actually inflict 2 damage. A reasonably good effort on this one, which is 1 success, will reduce the attack damage down by 2. It currently is hitting me with 3, so that means it would only come through with 1 damage, plus I'd be able to put a damage on it, so that would be not bad either. But the great news is we're still up in this category, so I get 3 dice going into this roll, which is quite nice. So let's go ahead and see what we can pull off here. I'm hoping for good things. Oh, now that's a good roll. So not only did I block the damage coming to me, I inflict 2 damage on it, which I've taken its health down now, and man, do I ever wish that card had 3 successes on it, because I can only imagine how much damage I would have inflicted using all 3 of those stars that I got. But those successes make me happy regardless. This card has now been discarded. We're not completely out of the woods yet. We move to the next part of the card here, which says the furthest exit from you has a hull breach. Place a skull token there. Anyone, victims, enemies, and you that is in or enters that space is instantly killed. If the killer dies this way, reveal their final hull token. If they come back to life, place them at the junction. So thematically, the idea here is the hull breach sucks the victims outside of the ship. But again, the alien, the killer, would be able to likely latch onto the side of the ship and get back in, and it would be able to get through into the junction area if the tokens, which now it has 2 of them, those black tokens at the bottom of the killer board there just off screen, if those happen to have any additional health left, this thing would still be coming back. So I've gone ahead and placed the skull token on the opposite side of USS KONRAD in the top right-hand corner, opposite from where we're currently standing as indicated by the card, which means the hull breach is in the escape pod over there where the victim currently is. That victim is being sucked straight out of the ship and is going to be killed. And of course, because we're at the evolution stage of an adult, that's actually going to still increase the bloodlust of the killer. So we want to keep ourselves out of that escape pod room, and of course if the killer gets in there, that's fantastic, but now the bloodlust here has gone up to the next level, and that's going to increase the horror track, which unfortunately now takes away one of our dice when rolling for horror rolls, and on top of it, the movement of this thing has just gone up. And we're still not out of the woods yet, as there's an event card coming at us. The event we got is called Cluttered Shafts. It says, while moving, you may move through an inactive maintenance shaft, in other words, one that you haven't used a key card to access, but there's a cost to it. You're going to lose a health doing so, and victims also cannot follow you if you move in this manner. That was a pretty crazy tarot card, and that last event wasn't all that bad. So now we're kind of situated pretty good because, as you know, I've been storing up some attack cards, and now that this thing has just creeped into my space, tried to attack me, and I retaliated, I've got cards ready for the upcoming player phase, but we're not there yet. Right now we're in the panic phase. And we currently have nothing to worry about in the panic phase in terms of victims running in different directions. And so because of this, we come to the upkeep phase, which again, the only time that's going to trigger for us is the faulty wiring card for the furnace. And for the trash compactor, we still don't have people in there, so nothing there. Now the good news about this player phase is the killer is in the same space as me, and I've been saving up some wonderful cards to use against it. But before I go ahead and do that, I want to focus because I want to try to bump up how many dice I'm going to roll on those horror checks. So we're going to do a focus first and see how we do, see if we can bump this up. We're rolling just 2 dice. Let's see if we can get down into this area here. That's what I'm hoping for. We got ourselves, a conversion. Okay, well, we can go with that. We can do a conversion. We could do a search and a scan. So I could discard these 2 cards in order to convert that, which I think I will. So we'll go ahead and knock time down by 1. This will bring us up to 3. That focus is now discarded along with the search and scan card. And next, we're going to go ahead and play Critical Blow. Now, the only thing that could go sideways here is the fact that if I don't get the best result possible, now that I'm going to be rolling 3 dice in this horror roll coming up, if I get a single success or none, then the action phase ends. That's what that stop sign with the X is at the very end. So I really want to try to push for the best result, so I have the chance to use this right afterwards. We'll see if we can make that happen. Here we go. I have no ability to convert at this point, just none. So here we go. Got to get it off the dice roll. Oh no, just shy, just shy. So we do still get 1 hit through, which is for 2 damage, not bad, bringing it down to 3. We also get to decrease horror, which gives us a better chance at actually holding on to 3 dice in the future. But like I said, the action phase is over. Now we head into the planning phase, and this is a very important one. Now we know that the standard killer action that's going to happen for sure is it's going to go after a victim. So it will leave my space to go kill a victim. What I don't know is what the terror deck will have in store for me and what might happen. So I need to think about whether or not this creature is going to remain on the board. Remember last time it disappeared and I had to like work a couple turns in order to get a scan card. So I might want to keep one of my 5 time that I have here when I'm spending stuff from the tableau to get a scan card in case it does disappear, so I can quickly try to attempt to get it back in my space, and of course at that point benefit from it. So the other thing I need to keep in mind is the fact that if it does happen to run away and kill a victim based on its normal movement and attack when it activates, but if the terror card tells it to come back to the final girl and hit me, I need something to defend against things, so maybe buying a guard card would be a good idea. I think the cards that make the most sense to grab are, of course, my 0 cards, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I have a Furious Strike in hand, so that's 6, and I'll pick up 4 other cards with 2, 3, 4, 5, which will be all of my time spent in order to get a couple reroll possibilities, as well as a scan card in case it runs away, and a guard card for defense. And like normal, we end off the planning phase resetting back to 6, and I'll discarded cards back in the tableau. Now the killer's going to move up to 3 spaces based on the Bloodlust marker where it's currently positioned as it heads towards the nearest victim. So it runs its way into the junction, and again it cannot use maintenance shafts, so it doesn't have any way to get a quick route to the space up there with the 2 victims. So that's a good news situation for us, and now we're pulling a terror card. The terror card is called It Came Out of the Shadows. It says if the killer is a hatchling, then discard and draw the next terror card. That is not going to happen because it's an adult. So we're going to go to the next step, and it says the victim or the final girl is the target. It's going to move and do a double attack. It was pretty easy to determine where it was going to go. When you have a victim and the final girl on there, again, it's going to whichever is closer, and if there's a tie, it's whichever has the most victims. In this case, it was really easy to determine because from the junction to where the killer is now and took out 2 victims, it's only 2 spaces. Where I am as the final girl is 3 spaces away. So it was closer to go to those 2 victims and take them down. So both of them gone, Bloodlust has gone up, and as you'll see, the next threshold has increasing horror by 2, which pulls away another die from us. This killer really doesn't want me to have that additional die. No matter what I do, I just keep losing it. And the final thing that's going to happen as a result of the terror card is the icon, which lets us know that this adult alien is vanishing back into the ventilation ducts. The panic phase is a wash as the killer showed up, sliced up its victims, and then took off. We now move to the upkeep phase, and again, as we know, no one in the trash compactor or the furnace, so we continue on, and now it's our turn. It's time to scan. We're actually going to pump the brakes on the scan initially because I have a couple of things I need to get into place before we have this thing potentially arrive. The first thing we're going to do is focus because we need to get back that die that was taken from us. Yet again, let's go ahead and make a roll here. I do have the ability to convert because I got so many cards in my hand for this turn, so that's a good thing. And we're going to need it. So if I want... Oh, this is actually really good. I probably... Should I use it right now? Or should I keep the cards to reroll for later? Well, I only need to walk one space, so I could probably get rid of a short rest and a walk. So let's just do it. This will give us an increase on time too, which actually could help us potentially buy the critical blow card later on. So let's do it. We'll get rid of the short rest and the walk. They're going to go into the discard. That'll convert a die over. That's going to give us a +2 on time, which is always nice. This is going to decrease us down by 1, and the focus goes down here. Now we're going to go ahead and attempt to walk, and I'm going to see if I can get myself back into the hangar because I really want to get into that super loader. So we're going to take our dice. We get 3 now, thanks to being into this section here. And we're going to go ahead and roll and see how we do. We just need 1 to be successful. We got it, which is exactly what we needed. We lose 1 time, so we drop ourselves down to 7, and we're able to move into the space here. That's going to do it. The walk card goes in the discard pile, and I'm thinking it's time to jump into that loader. The super loader key card states if you are in the same space as a loader, you may take and equip the super loader item card. Now that Ellen is inside the super loader, you can see the 2 hand symbols letting us know that it takes up any ability to have any items in hand because we got our hands busy controlling this thing, and it's going to increase our damage on attacks by 2, which is great. We also have a couple things to keep in mind when this thing is equipped. So first off, victims will not follow us. It also reduces all movement by 1 to a minimum of 1. And the next thing states to reduce all damage taken by 1 to a minimum of 1, so that's good too. And you cannot play short, long rest, or search cards. So now I'm feeling a lot more confident to go ahead and scan. Let's see if we can go ahead and pull this thing out of the shadows. We're gonna go ahead and roll 3 dice and hope for the best. I do have the ability to do some re-rolling if I need to, thanks to the close call cards that I have. We'll see how we do with this scan. Okay, that's interesting indeed. So we got ourselves 2 stars. We need 1 more. So what we're gonna do, and I bumped this one out of position, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna roll probably 1 die, I think. We're gonna go ahead and do close call. I don't know if this is gonna be tough. I really hope I land this on the first roll because I don't want to waste these. I'd rather use these on the attack cards because I could end up messing myself over here, but we'll see how this goes. Oh, this is making it so hard. Okay, well, you know what? We know that we get to skip the next killer phase if we do this. So because of that, we don't have to worry about having a guard card in our hand as much right now. So maybe what I'll do is I will toss the weak attack and the guard card. These are going to go into my discard. That's going to convert this to 3. That's going to allow us to succeed. We're going to be placing the alien in our space. And the 2 cards I'll have left over are Furious Strike and Close Call, which I think are a good pairing, especially with the fact that the Furious Strike can do 2 damage at best. I have a reroll if I need it. We get 2 damage off the super loader, and this thing has 4 damage to at least find out what's going on with its final health. So if everything goes to plan, we might be able to take it out. Maybe. The killer is back in the same space as Ellen and the super loader. It's worth mentioning I did do something that might be a bit confusing for people. About a round and a half ago, I accidentally, when both of these meeples were in the exact same space in the escape pod, I actually was acting with the final girl meeple to the junction, running around killing things and disappearing. It should have been the red one. The good news is no gameplay impact whatsoever beyond just potentially confusing some people as to which meeple I was using. Sometimes for some reason I automatically default to the red one being the final girl. It happened. So there we go. We got it all cleared up, but no gameplay impact whatsoever. So we're back to normal. This is the killer in red, and this is the final girl. In the future here, we'll be skipping the killer phase, but more important to note is that the scan card that was used, when it's used for its best case scenario, you remove the card from the game. So what's happening is over time, the tableau is running out of scan cards to actually purchase. At this point, we only have 1 more to purchase. So at this point, it's all about attacking the alien. We got to get a nice, good, solid hit in here while we have the super loader. So we're going to use Furious Strike, which allows 2 damage if I get the best result. Here's hoping. We need this in order to pair up with the super loader's 2 hits. That'll be 4, and that's enough to wipe it all the way down to revealing the final tokens to seeing whether or not we actually kill this thing off. I'm really scared because it has that exoskeleton, which put another token here, which gives it an increased chance that it will be coming back out of the woodwork at us, which is not fun. And I do have this close call card, as I mentioned, to re-roll if I need to. So let's go ahead and make the roll. We're looking for 2 successes, and hopefully we're going to land it. Here we go. See how we do. Yep, we got it. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and take off some damage. So because of the 4 damage, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, and now because we're heading into the final token, we get to reveal these to see how we did. Did we kill this thing? Let's find out. The first one off the top came from the exoskeleton card, and it's blank. So that's good news. We are halfway there. Let's hope that the last one does not have any health, because if it does, it immediately ends the actions phase and it gets whatever health that it has on the back of this, which I'm hoping is 0. Here we go. Let's see whether we did it. We did. It is over. It stayed dead. That's a victory. And that, my friends, is going to wrap up a very thematic experience with this feature film box, which I am a huge fan of this Into the Void one. This is so much fun. Like, the fun factor on this one is huge. And if you don't find this one challenging for some reason, and I actually found this one to be quite perfect in terms of its balance. However, I could see that if you were being really aggressive, like I could have been in part number 1, I had an opportunity where I might have been able to kill it before it even got a chance to evolve. Of course, things would have had to still line up perfectly, and I also got lucky because I didn't have anything come back in terms of additional health here at the very end, so I got very lucky, especially with the fact it had that extra token, which is well beyond the norm that you only have 1 to deal with typically. So luck was with me, but it won't always be. You always have the option to bump things up with extreme horror mode as well if you really want to kind of layer on the pain, and that will definitely ramp things up and make your rolls even tougher to pull off. But I love everything about this. The theme, the feel, the vibe, the ways to kill the alien. I mean, I didn't even touch on the crusher, the airlock, the self-destruct. There's a number of different rooms I wasn't even inside of. There's parts of the search deck or the item deck I haven't even seen. But what I was able to pull off here was a lot of fun. Hope this helps you see the game in action, helps you get it to the table, and you can bet that you'll be seeing more feature films on the channel in the future, as this is one of my favorite solo games. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.